Welcome to our service. We are the Rogue Valley University. I'm sorry, I knew I was going to do that. We are the Rogue Valley Unitarian Universalist Fellowship, or RUF, here in Ashland, Oregon. My name is Sue Kinsman-Barnes, and I'm a part of RUF because no woman is an island. Especially in these challenging times, I know that I need to be a part of a diverse, welcoming community, to build relationships with people who stand together for justice, and to find the courage to keep pressing forward. We're so happy to welcome you today to our service, both online and in person. We especially thank the stream team who's making the online course happen, and our neighborhood team who's welcomed us here to the Great Hall today. If you're a newcomer, please sign up for our mailing list on rvuuf.org.
Good morning. Many of you were here last week for our exercise in democracy, and I would, as a former political science major, call it a true exercise in democracy. What I want to do is give you the results very quickly for those who weren't here, and also let you know what we're doing right now in terms of next steps. So this will be fairly quick and brief. We voted on two things: on the ministerial status using ranked choice voting, which I think worked pretty well for this exercise. The first round, we had 12 people who wanted a full-time minister, 42 who wanted a part-time minister, and 41 who voted for a paid part-time worship coordinator. In the second round, we eliminated the full-time minister and took their second choice votes, and we ended up with 53 who wanted a part-time minister and 41 who wanted a paid worship coordinator. And there were one or two people whose ballots were eliminated either because we could not discern what the person wanted and or because they only voted for one choice. And then on the Emerson House, the vote was 66 to sell the Emerson House and 27 to keep the Emerson House for at least 5 years and to take the loan from a very generous lenders group who we greatly appreciate. What we're doing now is we have been in touch with Reverend Sean, and we will be talking to him further. We're also going to be talking to our regional UUA staff who have been very helpful to us in this whole process and getting their additional advice on how to proceed. And so we really, on that point, don't know any more than we did last week. I will let you know that. But as we know more and have information to share, we will be talking to the congregation further about that. On the Emerson House, one of our board members has met with several realtors. They've looked at the house, and we will be getting additional information from them. And then the board will be meeting next week to select a realtor. There's also a developer who is potentially interested in buying the Emerson House, who we're also in contact with. And as I said, we'll be selecting realtors. So expect to hear more in the future. And thank you so much for sticking with us through this whole process. I think we tried to communicate, and when we were hearing we weren't doing enough, we went back and kept working on it. So thank you again.
Thank you.
I have an announcement that the Ord 2 Indivisible group has organized a candlelight vigil this evening from 5:30 to 6:30 at Ashland Plaza to grieve the death of Alex Preddy and others by federal agents. We're so glad to have you with us for this service, and we invite you to join us in our mission: embracing diversity, empowering connection, and engaging in the work. We begin each service by acknowledging that our building is built on land that began as the home of the Cow Creek Umpqua, Takelma, Shasta, and Latgawa people. We remind ourselves that Indigenous people are part of our communities and continue to experience the effects of colonization. We are committed to fight for the worth and dignity of Indigenous people, both in our community and around the world. These services are part of that work. Welcome, and thank you for being here.
Good morning. Good morning. My name is Merak Milligan, and it's my pleasure to add my welcome to Sue's. I'm so glad you took time to be here with us. Before we light the chalice today, I want to recognize what happened in Minneapolis yesterday. We were all shocked at the senseless murder of a healer, a man named Alex Preddy, an ICU nurse who worked for the VA, and the outright lies from the government trying to justify their actions. I have a close friend in Minneapolis who has 2 friends with her husband, an Indian, and she is a white woman. She is terrified, and I am terrified for her. Instead of saying any words, I'm going to ask Sue to light the chalice in silence. Let's pause as she does and take a moment after to remember Alex Preddy and Renee Good and send our love and strength to everyone in Minneapolis.
Good morning. Our opening song today is in your teal hymnal, number 1003. Where do we come from? And I think we have enough people that we're going to divide this into 4 groups. So that means you have to take responsibility for your part and keep it going, even though somebody around you may falter. So here's what we're going to do. This group is going to be number 1. Yes. Okay, number 1, that's you. Number 2, this is you. Number 3, all the way up to here, you're all 3s. And from this row up, you're number 4. Oh, you'll pitch in for number 4. So, you all know this tune. So how we're going to do it is we're going to sing everything together, all, from beginning to end, all together. And then I'm going to cue 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you're going to start where the next number is. That's too confusing, so just start when I tell you. How's that? Okay, so Jane, let's go through it once. Jane will play the notes, just in case you're new and you don't know the tune. We don't do it all that often. Here we go. Good question. We are not going to do any of the repeats, if you know what that means. The two little dots here mean go back to the beginning and sing it again, but we're not going to do that. So we're going to sing it all the way through, no repeats. Here we go. Ready, and where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? Keep going. Mystery, mystery. Life is a riddle and a mystery. Where do we come from? Where are we going? And you see it ends in sort of a question mark, doesn't it? That's intentional. Okay, here we go. Everybody together one more time, and then I'm going to start counting you off. Here we go. Ready? And where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? Mystery, mystery. Life is a riddle and a mystery. Drop out when you're finished. Come from, where are we going? Okay, maybe we'll need a little more work on that. Or maybe we'll do it in two parts next time, this side and that side. But we'll get it down, honest.
Good morning. I'm Adrienne Simmons, and I'm a member of the anti-racism team. Mark Twain said, "History doesn't repeat itself, but it often rhymes." I've been thinking about history. Back in 1965, when I was a young girl and watched on television as police on foot and horseback clubbed peaceful protesters as they marched from Selma to Montgomery. And now here we are, 61 years later, with the rhyme as we watch on TV and video of peaceful protesters in Minneapolis being murdered by federal agents. I recently read that the most fundamental task of leadership is to foster hope. Hope takes courage, faith, solid thinking, willful action, and persistence in the face of the unknown. Nothing motivates followers or sustains leaders like the hope for a brighter world. As we celebrated Dr. Martin Luther King last week, he remained such a prophetic voice. In his final essay called A Testament of Hope, he wrote, "People are often surprised to learn that I'm an optimist. They know how often I have been jailed, how frequently the days and nights have been filled with frustration and sorrow, how bitter and dangerous are my adversaries. They expect these experiences to harden me into a grim and desperate man. They fail, however, to perceive the sense of affirmation generated by the challenge of embracing struggle and surmounting obstacles. They have no comprehension of the strength that comes from faith in God and man. It is possible for me to falter, but I am profoundly secure in my knowledge that God loves us. He has not worked out a design for our failure. Man has the capacity to do right as well as wrong, and his history is a path upward, not downward." End of quote. Now is the time for hope. combined with courage, faith, solid thinking, willful action, and persistence in the face of the unknown.
It is our practice each time we gather to light a candle for peace. We take this moment to call to mind our commitment to peace of mind, peace in our homes, peace in our communities, and peace in the world. Today's words are from a UU worship tradition. Peace does not begin far away. It begins with a breath, a moment of stillness, and the choice to be gentle with ourselves and one another.
Peace, salam, shalom. Peace, salam, shalom. Peace, salam, shalom. Peace, salam, shalom.
Now I invite children of all ages to come forward and join me for today's story. Good morning. Today's story is called I Wonder. It's a story about a little girl named Eva and her mama. Eva loves to look for the moon. It follows her from place to place, disappearing behind trees and mountains, and then appearing again someplace else. Look, Mama, there it is. The moon looks so beautiful in the sky, her mother said. How do you think it follows us, Eva? Eva thinks about it, but she just can't figure it out. It's okay to say I don't know, says her mother. When we don't know something, we get to wonder about it. I wonder if the moon and the earth are friends, Eva says. Her mother smiles. I like that idea. But Mama, how does the moon really stay close to us? There's an invisible force called gravity that pulls all the things in the universe together. Eva's mother explains. Gravity pulls the moon close to the earth, and it keeps the planets close to the sun. Eva understands a little bit better, but then she starts to wonder. Mama, where does gravity come from? I don't know, Eva. Nobody really knows for sure. And when no one knows the answer to something, it's called a mystery. A mystery is something for everyone to wonder about together. How fun. Eva imagines herself wondering about gravity together with all the people in the world. Here they are on the shore. What do you think she's going to ask about next?
How does water come from?
That's a great question. We'll have to ask that one later. Eva watches the moon disappear behind the clouds as she walks, excited to see where it will appear next. How many grains of sand are there in the whole world, Mama? I wonder about that too. There are trillions and trillions of grains of sand, and nobody knows exactly how many. Eva tries to think about all the sand in the whole world. It feels so big that I can't fit it all in my imagination. It makes me feel dizzy, like I'm falling. I know what you mean, her mother agrees, and I'm sure other people feel that way too. Eva walks down another path looking for the moon, and a little orange butterfly appears. Then she realizes that there are butterflies everywhere. Mama, where did all these butterflies come from? These butterflies have been flying around for a few days, but they started out as little caterpillars. And those caterpillars came from eggs. And those eggs came from other butterflies. There are cycles all around us, with one thing ending and another beginning. Things are always changing. Can you think of other things that change? Thanks, Eva. Clouds, frogs, and me. Here they are enjoying each other in the sunlight, in the wonder of the woods, in the meadow. Later, Eva wonders, Mama, what was here before all the butterflies and frogs and clouds? Before everything? I don't know, answers her mother. It's another mystery. I like trying to imagine what was here before the beginning of everything. What do you think was here?
Dinosaurs and volcanoes.
Dinosaurs and volcanoes. I like that. Eva says, smiling, I don't know. She thinks about it for a long time and then has an idea. I wonder if there were feelings. Feelings. I wonder if there were feelings before everything. As she walks home, Eva sees the moon again, glowing brightly above the roof of her house. Mama, let's go inside and look for the moon through the window. Thank you for joining me.
We're going to sing you out. Yeah?
Let's sing you out.
May your eyes be open to new learning. May your lips bring truth into the world. May your hearts know love and your hands do the work of justice as you go your way in peace. As you go your way in peace.
Today's reading is from Alex Mathers, from Embracing the Unknown, How Accepting Uncertainty Puts You Back in Control. Before I share that reading, I need to share something with you. This week, as I was preparing for this service, this part made me struggle. And after yesterday, I struggled even more deeply. But I take comfort in being with you here. We have this idea in our heads of what the future could look like, but never receive confirmation when we're looking for it, because as soon as the promised future shows up, it melts into the present. We realize the future we are anticipating simply never comes. It's a sobering reminder that we cling to comfort where things don't exist. We create both a sense of comfort and discomfort in a nest of illusion. Not accepting that we can't know the future, that's what creates problems for us. In our lack of acceptance, we resist. We grind teeth in the service of a thought. And when we resist, we create stress. And when we're stressed, we perform poorly. So what's the solution? You guessed it. We accept. But accepting is boring. But not when you realize the joy that sits on the other side of acceptance. When we learn to accept an uncertain future and the dark, cloudy skies it comprises, we have no need for resistance. There's power in the seemingly inconsequential thing, and it can change your life's trajectory. We need that change right now. We can accept an uncertain future. We welcome in calm again. And when we're less stressed, we do better where we need it most, right here, right now.
Our centering song this morning is in our gray hymnal, number 396. I know this rose will open. Please remain seated. This is actually another round. And I do have hope here, but I think today, because our feelings are very raw and we need to be in community, let's just sing it all together, shall we? We'll get all the way through the end, and then we're going to go back to the beginning. How many people, raise your hand if you already know this song? Good. Sing loudly. Here we go.
I know this rose will open. I know my fear will burn away. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose will open.
Again.
I know this rose will open. I know my fear will burn away. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose will open.
You may remember at the end of December, Vern did a service about liminality, being betwixt and between. I was his worship associate, sat behind him just like Sue is behind me now. And my brain just kept turning, thinking about liminality and the unknown. I feel like I spend a lot of my time in liminal spaces. At work, I work on projects where we're implementing new solutions or new processes, so my job requires me being aware of the past, the possibilities of the future, and the path we can take to get there. In my personal life, I've gone through huge transitions in the past few years, going from being married to being divorced, going from buying a house, selling a house, living with my parents, and circling back to owning a place of my own. As I sat there and continued to think about this, I realized that these liminal spaces, full of the unknown, are a place where many experience discomfort because they're fearful of the outcome. But this experience is different for me. I've found a way to live mostly comfortably in these spaces where the future isn't known. I like to break down the unknown down into two separate types. One where the unknown will become known, where you will get an answer, and one where you will never know the answer and are just left to wonder. There are different strategies for living in these two unknown spaces, but they both have the same solution: accepting that you don't know. I'm going to start with what many of you probably think is the easier of the two, when the unknown will become known. You have all experienced this many times yourselves. It may be when you were waiting for test results in school, or when you were waiting for results on election day. In these situations, you just have to wait. It may be a week when your teacher hands back the test, or it may be a few hours when the polls close. But in both of these situations, you need to accept that you have to wait. If there's an action you can take to positively affect the outcome, then by all means do that. But once you've gotten to a point where there truly is nothing else you can do to affect the outcome, you have to accept where you are. What's done is done, and you are no longer in charge. My therapist gave me a really good example of this in her own life, which has helped me immensely. Like many of us, flying makes her nervous. However, she came to the realization that once she sets foot in the airport, what happens from then on is out of her control. I, of course, pointed out that that's not technically correct. She could do something to provoke a TSA agent or choose to not get on the plane at all. So I compromised with, once you're on the plane and the doors are shut, it's out of your hands. Nothing you can do from that point on will affect the outcome of your flight. It's all in the pilot's hands now. Sure, there are things you do have control over, like how you would react if something were to go wrong. But there's nothing you can do to control the weather, control the pilot, or control the safety of the plane. Do I still have some anxiety flying? Yes, but it is greatly lessened by accepting that I am not in control of what happens on my flight once those doors close. So how do I get past this to reach acceptance? First, I figure out the worst possible thing that could go wrong. In the case of the plane, it would be the plane crashing. In the case of the election, it could be a fascist narcissist winning. Once I've identified the worst outcome, I assess how likely the outcome is. Some outcomes have a much higher likelihood of being the correct one, but with others it's not as clear-cut. For instance, travel by plane is shockingly safe, and in some elections it's much easier to predict the results than others. I then ask myself, is there anything I can do about this right now that will affect the outcome? No. I still try and prepare myself for bad outcomes, but I try not to spend too much time on it. My brain is particularly good at catastrophizing, going down multiple pathways to identify all the bad things that could happen. But I found that, not surprisingly, doing this does awful things for my mental health. Interestingly, it also negatively in perspective, it's much easier to if there's some part of the unknown that you do have control over and can help to create a positive outcome, you should do that. Do what you can, and then step back. The typically harder type of unknown to accept is the one where you will never know the outcome. When you know that you will get an answer or see a result, you can take comfort in knowing that once you get that answer, you can find a path forward. But when you will never know the answer, you instead have to live your life in a state of uncertainty. There are two large examples of how this has come to play out in my life that I'd like to share with you. The first is the classic age-old question, is there a God? When I was a kid, I was convinced there was no God. I would tell this to anyone who wanted to listen or not listen. In the case of the Jehovah's Witnesses that came to our door when I was in the 6th grade. It was after school and my parents weren't home. I probably shouldn't have answered the door, stranger danger and all that, but I did. And instead of letting them share the good news, I gave them a lecture on why God couldn't possibly be real and why I was an atheist. I think I must have gotten us on some sort of do not visit list. They never came back. As I got older, I started to be more curious. I couldn't possibly accept the traditional Abrahamic God. It never made sense that there was a God that cared about our world specifically and every one of us individually. There are billions of people on Earth. There is no way that someone could be looking out for us, every single one of us, at the same time. Not to mention, how would this God decide which person to prioritize? Which quarterback would you listen to when they prayed to you to win the Super Bowl? Which politician would you listen to when they prayed to you to win the election? It doesn't make sense. I did start to wonder, though, if there could be some other sort of God, some omnipotent being that kicked off the Big Bang, kicked off the evolution of life on our and possibly other planets. In my early 20s, I spent a lot of time thinking about this, agonizing about this. I had to know the answer. After a while, I had a realization. Why does it even matter to me? There's either some sort of God or gods out there, or there isn't, and I don't gain anything from knowing the answer. I know it sounds a little cheesy, but once I was able to accept that, I actually felt myself gain spirituality, not lose it. I'd come to peace with part of the universe, even though I didn't know the answer. The other example of this type of unknown in my life is a much harder one. I've spoken about this a little before, but in 2009, I lost my dear friend Matthew to suicide. To say it was a horrible day is an understatement. I've always said that grief from suicide is different from other kinds of grief. You ultimately don't know why the person took their life, and you never will know. As someone who's faced this decision myself, I am more understanding of that part, and I don't feel like I have to know. I've accepted that Matthew took his own life, and I won't ever know why. What will always be unknown to me is if there was something I could have done that would have stopped it. I'd been intending to ask Matthew if he wanted to go out to dinner that evening, but I never did. I learned later that another friend had actually called him that day to ask if he wanted to do something, but Matthew put him off. But what if it had been me that had been the one that asked? We had a silly dinner tradition, and he loved traditions. And he knew that I could empathize with how he was feeling. He'd even come to me in the past for that sort of thing. Could I have stopped his death if I had called him and convinced him to get dinner with me? The easy answer, and the one that those seeking to comfort me often provide, is no. It was going to happen anyway. But I don't know for sure that that's true. I could have been the deciding factor, or one of the deciding factors. But Matthew is gone, and there's no way I will ever get that answer. I've become more comfortable with knowing that this will stay unknown, but it will still occasionally weigh on me. So how do I come to accept these things? I've had to start with asking the big picture question, what happens if I don't ever get the answer? And more importantly, actually, what would happen if I did get the answer? I'm not able to step back in time to 2009 to see if my actions change anything. Nor am I able to step back in time to the beginning of the universe or the formation of the earth to see if there's something or someone pulling all the strings. Would it be nice to know? Sure. But what is the consequence of me not knowing? Nothing. The question of what would happen if I did get the answer is much more interesting. If I had the information, I would probably feel grateful for a second, but the outcome of knowing could be much worse than not knowing. Say, for instance, I learned that I would have been able to save Matthew if I called and asked him to dinner. If that was true, I'd end up spending the rest of my life stuck in that moment, berating myself for not making the call. I wouldn't be able to face my friends and would probably lose all confidence in my ability to be a good friend. Even if I learned I wasn't at fault, what would be in it for me? Nothing will change the fact that he's gone. I might feel a little better about things, but I can still feel the same way if I accept that I will never know. So how has this affected how I move through the world? Let's first look at what happens when you do fear the unknown. Like Sue mentioned in her reading, having this fear can cause mental symptoms like anxiety and stress, and physical symptoms like tense muscles or a racing heart. Do those sound familiar to you? They were definitely familiar to me, especially with my excellent skills at catastrophizing that I mentioned before. Since I have learned to accept the unknown, my mental health has improved greatly in this part of my life. I'm better equipped to deal with the waiting game situations we face all the time and the big unknowns where we'll never know the answer. I don't spend as much mental energy worrying about all the possible outcomes, and on the physical side, my muscles are quicker to relax, and my heart spends less time racing. This has not been an easy journey, and it's one that I continue on every day. Do I still have anxiety and stress about things that I have no control over? Of course. But my life has become so much more peaceful and my mind so much more still since reaching this friendship with the unknown. I wanted to create an experience for you all to give you practice with becoming comfortable with the unknown. And I actually adapted this exercise from a recent episode of This American Life called, appropriately, I Hate Mysteries. Remember this box, that one that most of you had a chance to shake as you came into the service? I asked you to think about what was in it. I'm going to give you a minute to talk with your neighbors about what you thought. Thanks, everyone. Thank you for that, everyone. Did anyone hear any particularly good theories? Julie, did you hear a good idea?
I did. Would you like to know what I think it is?
I would.
Well, I know that you put things from your life in there, so I'm just gonna guess it's Legos.
Legos is what Julie guessed. Sue, I'm going to ask you what you thought.
That sounds like something from my office. Like large binder clips?
It's a good idea. So those are really interesting ideas. I bet you all had some great ones as well. Thanks for taking the time to think about it. Each week we take an offering to support this congregation. Your generosity in giving is the biggest source of financial support for the mission, programs, services, outreach, and staff here at Roof. Your giving makes it possible to put our principles and values into action in our community and beyond. If you are joining us online, you will soon see instructions for giving on your screen. If you're in the Great Hall, you can place your gift in the offering baskets we will soon pass, or use the QR code on the back of the order of service to give electronically. If you need support, please contact the caring team using the form on roof.org. They will get back to you as soon as possible to find out more. We will now give and receive our morning offering.
closing hymn this morning is actually an insert in your orders of service. And before we stand, I'm going to give you a little bit of information. There's a lot to unpack in this one song. First of all, the title and the first verse are referencing a parable told by Jesus of Nazareth, who told a story about basically being prepared. I won't tell you the parable because it's really not relevant to modern day, involving a whole bunch of Vestal virgins and things like that. But the point of the parable is important, and the meaning in Jesus' story was that it pays to be prepared. If you go on to the following verses, it's actually referencing Jacob's ladder, which in the times that this piece came about, it is a spiritual. Enslaved people sang this song. And originally, it was about rising higher and higher on the ladder to heaven. And how you did that was to become more of a better person, a good person, and you strove all of your life to become a better person to get one rung higher toward heaven. It later became a song sung by enslaved people in reference to the Underground Railroad. And it was a song that was sung when the Underground Railroad was active in your area, and it was a red flag to let you know that you should be alert, aware, and prepared because an opportunity to freedom might be coming up soon. I think, to me, the most important thing about this song is the deeper spiritual meaning of it, which is that the lamp is us. Each of us is simply a vessel. And inside of us, there's a wick and there's a pool of oil. And as you've noticed in the chalice sometimes, if you don't keep your wick trimmed, the flame goes very high and burns very quickly. So you want to maintain that trimmed wick so that you don't burn out too soon. The oil is your spirituality, and making sure that, particularly in this time when we don't know what's going to happen to us, to the world, to our nation, keeping your spirits up, keeping your spirituality taken care of, and making sure that you have a pool of resource inside yourself is the message behind this song. So, how many of you have already sung this once? Keep your lamps. Yeah? Good. Okay. Please, everyone rise in spirit. And let's have Jane give us a little intro, and then we're going to sing all the verses. Here we go. And
Keep your lamps trimmed and burning. Keep your lamps trimmed and burning. Keep your lamps trimmed and burning, for the time is growing nigh. Sisters, don't get weary. Brothers, don't get weary. Children, don't grow weary, for the time is drawing nigh. It's our faith makes us happy. It's our faith makes us happy. It's our faith makes us happy, for the time is drawing nigh. Sisters, don't get weary. Brothers, don't get weary. Children, don't grow weary, for the time is drawing nigh. We are climbing Jacob's ladder. We are climbing Jacob's ladder. We are climbing Jacob's ladder, for the time is drawing nigh.
I'd just like to say that my parents are here today, and even they are not going to find out what's in the box. Sue actually pointed out to me that this has been a hard time, but in our song we're going to sing momentarily, we're going to talk about going out in joy. And let's all think about that. But also remember that we have this loving community to support each other, and we can extend that to support the rest of the world.
Speed it up a little bit. Please rise and join hands across the aisle if you'd like. And here we go.
For we shall go